Hello everyone and welcome. I am Reader Marie and this is Reader Marie's Stitching Adventure, where I talk about my cross stitching and my cross stitching journey. So it's been a while, or I did do the vlogs in Mania, but I haven't done a real update. Honestly, I have been just procrastinating as crazy because I knew there will be a lot going on doing the whole update. So I figured what I'm going to do is I'm gonna do a kind of whip parade of everything I have worked on, at least what I could find. I hope I found everything. So usually when I do a whip parade, I do it in chronological order, but this is not a real whip parade, so I'm not gonna do that. Instead, I am gonna show you, first off, I'm gonna show you my Mania starts. Then I'm gonna show all my other starts, because I have two kinds of start this year. And there might be put in a third exception to what I'm starting. So I'm having a new start on the 29th of each month with Virtual Stitcher. It's called Leap Year Start, something like that. So I don't exactly start on the 29th on all of them. Like, some of them have gone a little bit into the next month, and some have been started 2 or 3 days before. But a lot of them have been started on the 29th. And then my Mania starts, the other ones I have started. My third exception will be most likely gifts, because I'm doing a challenge next year where I'm not going to start anything. It's going to be a really, really fun challenge with some really good friends. I'm not gonna talk too much about it because I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, because I think we need to keep it limited the way we're going to do it next year. So I might need to do some new gifts. And also, my plan this year was to have a new start when I finished something, so I could like start something that was similar to what I had finished. So far I haven't used those starts because I haven't been feeling like it. Like, it is what it is. So there's a lot of new start this year. And I found that my pile of new starts are bigger than the whips I have worked on so far. So, but it is what it is. Like, I'm still going fine with my whip-go goals. If I can find a good picture of what it looked like in the beginning, like, I will insert those here if I remember. If I'm editing at all. I'm really lazy today and I feel really out of practice. So the last new start I had is not considered a Mania start because this was started on the 29th. This is a pattern by Verbena CS for Verbena Cross Stitch. She has a Facebook page and you can find her on Etsy. And this one is called Be Happy. So there is Be Happy Now, actually. So there is a lot of Quaker motifs around here. And then in the middle it says Be Happy Now. So I found this yellow Mystery Ada. It's a 16 count, that's all I know, because it was a 16 count mystery ornament pack. And so far I'm stitching it in hand because you can see I don't have a lot of margins, but that really doesn't matter to me. And it's nice having a project that I can stitch in hand. And when I get tired of stitching that in hand, I will just put it on a Q-snap, most likely. So that's my latest finished. That one I have done 494 stitches on. Because yes, I do have my spreadsheet with me telling me exactly how much I have stitched on all the different things, actually up to date. So yeah, the next one I did start is Alice by Donna Stitch. This was one of the ones you all chose. So it's going to look like this. And I managed to do 4,109 stitches. And that's with frogging and everything, because I had a really bad week when I started on this one. That's why I didn't get to Epic Pokemon in the month of May. Which I had planned to do. But I would get limited time, less time than planned, since I suddenly had 3 starts that you all chose instead of just 2. Instead of just 1, I mean. So yeah, so this is where we got to. Everything, how it's been going and stuff like that. I think I will put it at the end. So yeah, and here's the floss colors with the Alice needle minder that I made myself. So yeah, that's Alice, and I just have to pack away as I'm going, because or else this is going to be a huge mess. I'm not going to show before and after pictures, and I will only show what it will look like picture if I actually have the picture with me. So this is Little Gamer. This was the second option you all chose for me to start. Notice this Tetris block in that corner. On the Gamer, I did 4,041 stitches. This one also gave me a lot of trouble, especially in this Tetris block. But this is where I got to. And if I remember correctly, the page break is like right here. So yeah, I got a Tetris block done. That Tetris block is fully finished. And a lot of background, so. But it, like, in all honesty, it was a really fun stitch. So I'm looking forward to working on it again. The only problem I have is it's not on Pattern Keeper. And you might think, well, your Epic Pokemon is not on Pattern Keeper. That's the one you focus on this year. Well, I have a surprise for you when we get to that part. Next up is Mickey Mouse. This is sharded by Mandrink's Design on Etsy, but I bought it through Xstitch EU on Etsy because she is making kits from patterns from the Ukrainian designers. Russian, Ukrainian, you all know the style I'm referring to. So, this is where I got to. A lot of background that is half stitches and some full stitches. It's actually turning out really, really nice. And then the top of the broom is backstitched. also. So yeah. As you can see, it's not that big of a piece. So I was really surprised when I took out the fabric and was like, oh, this isn't this big. And it's 14 count, so but yeah, it's I really enjoyed working on this one. Also, which you will probably hear with like 99% of everything I have. So that was Mickey Mouse. I did 1023 stitches on that one. And then one of the last things I finished off in May. I took one extra day for this one. It's not mine. It's actually Shelly Key X Stitch and Sarah the Stitching Mommy's patterns, and they have been so kind to let me borrow it. It's the Little House Needleworks Monthlies. That's just what I'm calling them because they're just called the month names and it's all the months. So I just call it my monthly Little House Needlework monthly series because that's what I do. So this one I did 2,429 stitches, and that got me the January block finished, and I started the February block. And you can see I got a pretty decent chunk into February, so got a little partial finish there, or mini finish. I'm not getting a new start if I'm doing a mini finish, just saying. So, and the colors I have converted myself from Victoria Motto sampler floss that I have. So yeah, I'm not going too much into details on fabric and stuff like that, but if there's anything you wonder, just ask and I will let you know. But if I'm going to say everything, that's just not possible. My brain isn't there right now because I'm not having too good of a year like a lot of other people, and it will just make me ramble on forever. So keeping it simple, just showing the projects. Next up is, this is called the Pancake Sampler. It's a pattern that I found in a magazine, one of my digital subscriptions I have. There was a sale on like all the ultimate cross-stitching spring magazine. So this one, I think it's from the cross-stitching, ultimate cross-stitching sampler. Yeah, I believe that's so. So this is where I'm at so far. I did 1,900 stitches, and you have this kind of motifs with the lemons and the lemon flowers and the leaves like all around. And then you have the pancake recipe actually backstitched on here. You can see I have started pancakes backstitching. And then at the bottom you have like flour, eggs, and like baking stuff to make the pancakes as motifs at the bottom. And this blue border around. So I think that's turning out really nice. I have some nice plans for this because this is going to be a gift in the future. So hopefully when I get closer to that, I can show you and tell you how that went. So, and I'm just keeping this in this little floss buddy. So that's nice. Next up is baking mice. And where did you go and hide? Sorry. You were standing on my bag thingy, floss buddy thingy. So, the baking mice, it's patterned by Doreen Jones. I know she has it on her Etsy shop, but I got it from a magazine. I don't remember which one. If you really, really want to know, just ask below and I will find the information for you. So this is where I got to. It's not that much. It's one of the smaller starts I had. 418 stitches on this one. And it's basically a bunch of mice having cooking supplies, like this spoon with some dough on, like all over the place, and in the middle it says, "Life is what you bake it." And this is also going to be a gift, and maybe you can see a theme in some of the gifts. But it's most likely going to be a gift not for this year, but next year. But I have to start it now, because next year I can start anything. So, and then we are getting to my Sal start. This is Moonflowers by Mirabilia. This is a very bad picture of what she's going to look like. They really, this picture of Mirabilia really doesn't give it the, what's the word? Like, it doesn't show really what it's going to be like. It's much prettier. So that's why I usually on the Mirabilias insert pictures that are preview, that usually are stitched up versions, because they are a little bit more true to what it will be. So this is where I got to. This is 2023 stitches, mostly in this 3823 color. That's the moon, and a little bit of the Krynic. And then I stitched, you can see there the back stitching on the Krynic. Wow, it shows up actually pretty decent on here. Which I'm not too sure that I like. It is supposed to be pretty like subtle shading. Like here you can't see it at all. So what I think I'm going to do is I want it to show up. So most likely I'm going to rip it out. I'm gonna find one of the DMC flosses, just because those are better to backstitch with. So maybe the light color effect 699, which is a pretty dark green. I think maybe that's what I will substitute that backstitching with, just so it shows up. I need to do a floss toss and stuff before I do that, but I think that's my plan so far. So that was Moonflower. Got a good chunk of the moon done, and I'm actually really close to the top of her head. But I think I'm gonna do all the drapey stuff hanging down from the moon, like in the middle of the moon, before I start on the lady, just because that's what I'm enjoying the most. And I hit you again, sorry. I have it in a really funky place because I have to charge my phone as I'm filming, because I didn't plan to film today. I just said to myself, you need to do this, just do it, and I am doing it. So, that was Moonflower. Next up is Star Wars Christmas Ornament. I can't remember the name of the Etsy store, but she doesn't really have it on her page. You can't buy it on her Etsy store. I had to ask her specifically to get this pattern. Because she doesn't have it in her Etsy store. So it's a Star Wars themed piece, which is also Christmas themed. So this is where I got to. I did 1,730 stitches, and that's pretty good because, as you can see, I'm not traveling with the stitches at all of these these single stitches and stuff. I'm doing them as single stitches and ending the floss because I don't want the really white trailing on the back. Like, you can see my hand behind this. So yeah, it's a little bit tedious to work on, but it's, if I'm in the mood, this is like the perfect stitch if I want to do something tedious. And I love how it's turning out. So the Millennium Falcon is completely done, and the X-Wings are completely done. These 4 symbols of the Rebel, I think this is the Empire, are completely done. And then I'm almost done with the Death Star. So yeah. And on the other side, there's going to be TIE fighters. And maybe something else that I don't remember. And at the bottom, you will have Luke with R2-D2 standing in the snow, looking up at this fighting in the sky. So it's a really cool piece. I love this one. And of course, it has a dedication in my Millennium Falcon Bitsy Bob. I think these are called. That's so Calico sells them. If you live outside the US, spoiler alert, the shipping cost is horrendous. That's not That's so Calico's fault, that's the US Postal Service fault. But I'm just warning you, because then it can fast get a little bit pricey if you live outside the US. Next one I started that's not finished is Winnie the Pooh 2. This is an Avora CS for cross stitch on Etsy. She do a lot of stained glass type of patterns that are Disney inspired. And what is really nice is she has, like, each section in the stained glass is just one color, which is a really nice change to work on from Tinkerbell I have. Because Tinkerbell is like really confetti heavy all over the place, while this one is like blocks of color just filling in the black. So this is where I got to. It's called, like, when I downloaded the pattern, the name was Winnie the Pooh 2. But the real name, when I actually looked closer at the pattern, is Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. Because you have Winnie the Pooh and Piglet holding hands. Winnie the Pooh is also holding a balloon. There is some bees around, some flowers, and you have like little honey jar in one of the corners, and you have like this border around, making like a glass frame. So I really like how that is turning out, and it's a really fun stitch to do. And I did 3,050 stitches. So this one is a guarantee to come back out, because the other full coverage projects I did, I reached the 4,000 stitch mark, which is one part in the full coverage fanatic cross stitch group, and I'm doing all the parks this year. So I need to bring this out to do at least 1,000 more stitches to reach that goal. But other than that, I don't have plans to pull it out unless I can fit it into a prompt. But I don't think the full coverage pieces is going to be pulled that much out, at least not for Mania. I'm kind of, what I did in Mania is mostly done, except for a few that I want to get a little bit more progress on, like Winnie the Pooh. And then we get into non-Mania starts. So the first one out is the closest to Mania, because I'm doing this in the opposite order from what I started the last to what is the longest ago I started. So this is called Dungeons and Dragons. It says, beware of the smiling dungeon master. It has 2 dragons on each side and a D20. That is a 20-sided dice in the middle. And it's just, for people gaming, we just call it D20. And if it has 10 sides, it's a D10. Like the normal one you do for Yahtzee, that's a D6. It has 6 sides. So yeah, that's that one. That is, my plan is to do this as a gift, because now with the whole situation all over the world, people being a lot of home, can't be with other people face to face. Me and my husband is playing Pathfinder online together with some friends, and one of our good friends, he is the game master or dungeon master, depending on what you call it. Most people call it game master, GM. But dungeon master it's the same thing. So since he is so kind, letting me join that one, I'm doing that for him basically. And I know he's going to love it, so that's really cool. And then we have a huge start. So this was I think actually, I'm not sure. This is one of my exception starts, because I had some sales I was going to participate in. So I have 2 sales that is also started that I couldn't remember for this year. But those were planned like last year, so it's fine. This is the Once Upon a Fairy Tale bookshelf by Amy Stewart, and that's like 503 stitches. So this one needs to be pulled out, because I need to do 4,000 stitches on this one before putting it away. And this is actually on my Whipco board. So I really need to get those 4,000 stitches in on this one. But we'll see when it's being pulled out again. It's on a 32 count, so As you saw, it's pretty small, but I really love how it's turning out when I'm stitching it 1/1 full cross. So that's nice. It has a really nice coverage with the dark colors. So that's fun. And this is just the colors I have started to use so far, because I'm kitting it up as I'm going, because it has a lot of colors and I didn't want to use a whole lot of time kitting up instead of actually starting the project. Next one after that is Santa's train. This is one you haven't seen because I haven't done an update since then. Yep. So this is from a magazine. Also, this year I decided to try and kit up a little bit of the patterns I have seen in magazines that I really want to do. And since I'm not starting anything next year, most likely in 2022, I'm going to try and focus on starting stuff that is patterns I have, like physically patterns, especially from books, because I have a lot of books with a really nice amount of patterns I love. So I'm going to try and start those. So Santa's train is basically, it's a train with Santa in the front looking out the window of the train, and you have the wagons behind that have a bunch of different toys in them. And I'm doing a conversion on this one. So this is where I got to. This is the top of the train where the man in the train is controlling it. There is a lot of backstitching. There is gold on here, which looks amazing. So what I'm changing is actually this is called for in green and gold all over, but I decided that I wanted to do it in blue and gold for at least this first part, and then maybe have the other like wagons and stuff in different colors. But these blues colors are taken from what was originally in the pattern. I'm just using them here. So that's most likely my thought about the rest of the train, because maybe have a green wagon and a red wagon, just to mix it up. I'm not too big of a green girl, so I didn't want the whole thing to be green. And this pattern has like printed snowflakes on it. It's a printed pattern. It's by Fabric Flair. I think this one is a 32 count. No, it's the 36 count. It says right here. So yeah, that's where I'm at so far with that one. And I did 1029 stitches on this one. So a small little start, but it's not too big of a pattern, so it's fine. And then I had another start that I don't remember if you have seen. This is Leprechaun by Lola Lita Shop on Etsy. It's basically a leprechaun sitting on a cauldron of gold. And all that nice St. Patrick Days themed around it with the rainbow and stuff. So this is where I got you. It's turning out really nice. This is one of those Ukrainian Russian designs. So you have both half stitches and full crosses to give it some dimensions. And you can really see it in here really well because the smoke, magical smoke coming up of his pipe is in full crosses and everything else is in half crosses. And some of the colors are the same, but you really can see a difference between the smoke coming out and the background because it gives it so much dimension doing half crosses and then full crosses. So I really love those types of designs because it gives so much depth. And then you have the back stitching on top of that. And often they will do, like, some places you do one strand of 310 and another place you do 2 strands of 310. On one of the patterns I have, you even do 3 strands of 310 as back stitching, and it just makes everything pop and it looks amazing in the end. So yeah, really love working on this one. I put it on an opalescent fabric, white opalescent fabric. I believe it's 28 count. And it's linen, I believe. And now to get it into this, I haven't cut the fabric down to size, so it's a little bit, there's a lot of fabric being put into this little bitsy bop. And on the Leprechaun, I did 2,195 stitches. Then we are getting to the model stitching I'm doing for Paddock Lane Designs. It's if you're in Virtual Stitchers and School of Magical Stitches, Beach and Broadwalk, you most likely know Lisa Lane, because she was one of the resort managers in Boardwalk and Beach until this month, I think. She had to stop for personal reasons, and she have started designing. She's an Aussie, which means she lives in Australia, and she is doing a lot of Australia types of designs. So this is a Year Down Under, it's called. It's a series she's doing with monthly blocks of Australia themed, because they have, when we have summer, they have winter, so it's more matched up to their seasons and their country. So I really like it. I think it's cool. So I'm model stitching it for her. I do all of them on one big piece of fabric, but they are charted to be done individually. So this is where I'm at so far. The top is fully finished. That's the way I decided to do the border, was have the letters on top with this border of, this is like a flower type in Australia. I don't remember the name. Sorry, Lisa. And I'm doing a border all around, and then I'm doing individual borders for the individual parts. This border is not charted, but that's how I'm doing it. So March is fully complete, January is fully complete, and the others are just started a tiny bit. So she's still making these, so I think she has 3 parts left to do. So I need to get stitching. So that one, I have done 15,821 stitches on so far. Yes, it's a big piece, but I think it's a really nice one. And then it's my a family patchwork sampler by Modern Folk Embroidery. This is the 2020 sal he's doing. And I say he because Jacob is a male designer and he has some really nice Quaker styles patterns. I have decided to do this in a little bit of different silks I have from Silks for You. It's on a 32 count and it's huge. It's actually going to go all the way over. But I love how it's turning out. The January block, it's almost finished, but not quite there. But it's turning out lovely, and I really enjoyed this one. So, but we'll see when it gets back out. Because I have, even though I do a lot of new starts, I try to get a good start on them, and then I'm going back to the projects I'm originally focusing on this year. So this one I have done 4,359 stitches on. So that's a very decent start. And then the last one of the starts I have that are still works in progress is my Aladdin by Donna stitch, and this one has seen the most love out of all my new starts. I really enjoyed this one. It's so much fun to work on. You have a nice variation of big blocks of colors and not so big blocks of colors, and it's just, I love it. So this is where I am so far. I'm almost done with the top row of pattern. I think the pattern, the row break is like right here. So you can see I have a tiny bit here done, and here I have done more than the row break. But I don't focus too much on pages, getting those finished. So that's where I'm at. And that one I did 11,001 stitches so far, and I need to do at least 1,000 more stitches to reach 12,000 stitches, because if you multiply 4 for 4,000 stitches, we're talking about full coverage fanatics, you multiply that with 3, you get 12. So to finish up the third part with this project, I need to put at least 1,000 more stitches into this project. Because what is really nice is all of the Donna stitch pattern has been approved as full coverage. So all of them are considered a full coverage and can be used for the full coverage fanatic challenges. So then, that was this new start for this year that I haven't finished. So now I will try to do a little bit of finagling, and you will see me in a few seconds. All right, I'm back. Now I'm going to do the finishes I have had so far. I'm missing one. I can't really find it right now. So we will just go with it. I think it's the one of Sorrow from One Piece. Like, I'm doing all the One Piece characters into they are full coverage, just 40 by 40 squares, and I'm making them into coasters. So most likely I made it into a coaster and hidden it so my husband won't find it. So I have a clue where it most likely is. I just don't have it right now, and I'm not about to go looking for it. So I have a fully finish, which is a finish from, was it last year or was it 2018? I can't remember. But it's the Alice Biscornu from Cloud's Factory. And I have now fully assembled it. So, and I just used size 8 bead in the middle instead of buttons. When I do the beads instead of the buttons, what I usually do is when I'm pulling, like usually you will go through the biscornu and you will use the buttons to like tighten it in so you get that bloop for a better name right here. But with the beads, once I tried that with the bead cracked because it's too much tension on the bead. So what I will do is take the floss around a few times and really tighten it before putting the beads on, and tighten it a little bit more because you need something else to get that really good squish in the middle. So yeah, that's how the biscornu turned out. And then this year for May, I started a towel pattern, which is these cute bears. It's from a magazine that I have a physical copy of. I'm pretty sure I won it from someone on Flosstube. I think it's Michelle Bendy just because. But I'm not sure. It can be by somebody else. But that's how it turned out. I have my signature on there, but it's in white, on white, and the camera is not picking it up at all. But it's there. But I didn't want anything flashy so you can see it, but it's there and you can't see it in real life. Like, it's not easy to see, but it's there, and that's what I wanted. Then I did Little Mermaids. Most of the items in the Little Mermaid blocks in Epic Storybook Princesses individually, so I can make them into coasters, which I haven't done yet, as you can see. In the beginning of the year, I finished my Be Inspired. It took me 6,443 stitches to finish this one. So I'm really happy about the finish. The fabric is hand dyed by me. And then the next one I finished of the whips I had is a Storytime Sampler. This one I did 9,778 stitches to get a finish. But it's looking really nice, and the stitches was pretty easy to get because it just fit it into so many challenges because it has so much going on. Like, I could use this all the time for challenges, which were really, really nice. And then the third finish I have had of the whips that were like started is my Haunted Mansion by Tiny Modernist, which was a sale in 2018. I converted the moon. Everything else that is red is also converted by me, including this little devil that is knocking on the door with his tail, having his trick and treat bag. And I converted this bowl of like fruit and stuff and mushrooms on the table just to, because for me this looks like Hotel Transylvania. So I figured they needed a room where they could get together and talk and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how that ended up looking. And I did 8,156 stitches to get that finished. So we're closing into a finish. Yes, there's still a little bit more to go. This one will be a long one. So next up is the whips that I have worked on. I'm not going to show what I haven't worked on. And there is a lot of projects I have not worked on. Either because they're not on my WhipGo board, or they haven't yet been called on the WhipGo board. So instead I'm focusing on the ones that are called and trying to finish that up. And also, mostly, even more than the WhipGo board, focusing on the 3 whips that I would have as a focus. It's the baby blanket, Epic Pokemon, and then it was being inspired, but that was finished. Then I switched that to Storytime Sampler, and that got finished. And then I switched to Haunted Mansion, and that got finished. So now that one is switched to A Year Down Under, which is model stitching. So trying to get that finished. And then afterwards, I'm most likely going to put Cinderella in there. Not in Rags and Riches, Cinderella, the Mirabilia one. So that's my plans for those. So I have like 3 focus whips, and those will be heavily focused on this month also. So we'll see when it gets closer to the end of the year if I'm going to try and pull out everything I have and work a little bit on everything, or if I'm just going with it. Just, yeah, it is what it is. So first up is a favorite for a lot of people. It's the Epic Pokemon Generation 1. And I'm trying to get this finished this year, which is a huge accomplishment because the bottom section wasn't done at all. I still had a huge hole in the top section to finish, and the bottom section hasn't been done at all except for the partial page just at the edge. And the good news is that on Pokemon Cross Stitchers on Facebook, there is a guy that is amazing. He has made all the Pokemon patterns workable in Pattern Keeper. He has done the adjustment that needed to be done to make it work into Pattern Keeper, so now I can work on this on Pattern Keeper, which is really, really, really nice. So, so this month, this is one of the projects I am going to focus a lot on. So, together with the model stitching. So the baby blanket isn't going to be that much focus on this month, but it will get a little bit of love. Are you ready? So, as you can see, and now I can see, the top part is fully finished now. That I did finish this year. I also added this black border that is going to go all around. And that approximately is the halfway point. Like I'm holding the fabric to where the line would be in the pages. Even though the pages now are different from, because it's put into Pattern Keeper, but I'm still going with the old pages because I have my goals for Whip Go as those pages. And then I have started to work down the right side of the pattern, and this is where I got to. Oh, it's huge. It's massive. It's on 14 count, so it's really big. So yeah, it was a good time to do this video just because of this one, because now I can move the Q-snap and everything from here and down will fit into the Q-snap 11 by 17, and I can finish off these pages. I don't know, like this is a page about right here, so this will definitely be finished. This one and this one, because there's 1.5 pages left here, and on this side there is 1.5 pages. But as you can see, I'm just trying to follow it down, so I might not finish both of these pages. We'll see. But I'm trying to have a cut right here, because that means afterwards I can go up, work this section all in one go on the Q-snap, and just work it down. These two, there's 2 pages here, 2 full pages. And work those down, and there's 2 here, 2 there, and 2 there, so there will be 6 pages left if I can do both of the two pages, these 4 pages finished. So there's 10 pages left plus the border, so I'm getting really close. And I did a calculation in the beginning of the month. Today is the 5th of June. I did a calculation in the beginning of the month, and I found that every day I stitch on this, so not consecutive days, but if I stitch 1,000 stitches on this one, each day I work on it, it will take me a total of a little bit over 60 days, which end up being not 1,000 stitches, 500 stitches. If I do 500 stitches, if I do 1,000 stitches, it will be just over a month, by a day or 2, I think. And if I do 500 stitches, it will be a little bit over 2 months. So if I only work on this for 2 months and get at least 500 stitches each day, it will be finished. But the good news is, most of the days I so far have worked on this, I actually surpass 500 stitches and get over 1,000 stitches, which has almost been impossible for me to reach. Like, I have struggled getting 1,000 stitches in a day on this one. But now with Pattern Keeper, that isn't an issue. It's so easy to see, because it's so easy to see where I'm gonna park my floss next. I don't have to look after symbols, see if like if I need to finish a thread or if I need to park it further down. And that's a huge help, because that I have used so much time on that. And what I have used even more time on is all of the ninja stitches that appears, because I finish off a color because I don't think there is more of that color, and then there's like one stitch 6 rows further down that I didn't see, so I have to start a new color for that one stitch and then finish it. But that I don't need to do anymore. So I'm really happy about this one, and it's actually really fun to work on. So in June, I know this is a crazy goal, but I hope to get those 4 pages finished, or the one at the edge, like get those 2 pages almost done. If it's not 100% finished, it's fine. I just need like keep a line going down. So yeah, that's exciting. And by doing it that way, like this is my old stitching, the stitches aren't that good, especially if you look up here in Tentacruel, like these white stitches look horrible. It's awful. Like, oh, I can't understand that I stitch so bad. Like, they all go in the same direction, but the tension is all off. They have prolonged legs. Because I did prolonged legs, some places there is more tension on the square than others. So you get these really weird looking X's instead of if you look over here. Because this I have done after I became a better stitcher. But it's fine. Like, you can't see it from here at all, so it's fine. So, but that means doing this side first. The reason I want to do that is because as you can see here, I did a little bit more cross-country-ish when stitching. Like, I did one color and I did one until I couldn't find more stitches, and then I ended the floss, and then I would pick a new color and I would do that until the stitches was ended. And I also did like focusing on a Pokemon. So you can see Redicate here. I just continued on just finishing him off. But I don't like to stitch that way. I really don't like going in here to stitch these stitches that are all surrounded by other stitches. Like, I don't like that. I like my parking method. I like the way I'm doing it, like stitching top down. I'm not doing parking block by block or row by row. What I'm doing is I take one color and I stitch that as long as I can going down without stitching in a place where there isn't stitches above. So I'm doing one color as long as I can if there is stitches above. And that makes it so, like, on Pokemon this works really fine because you have a lot of blocks of colors and then you have a lot of confetti. So it just works really nice that way. So yeah, going to do this so I don't need to stitch stitches I don't like to stitch anymore, basically, because then this will be a lot more fun to stitch in the future. I have a little bit of it up here when I get to the top, but it's not that much, so it will be fine. It's fine. Okay. I can ramble on about my epic Pokemon for ages, apparently. And my whip piles are falling. You heard that. That was a project in a project bag going on the floor. So my epic Pokemon so far this year, I have done 25,000 stitches 25,030 stitches this year. And I still have a little bit over 30,000 stitches left, something like that. I don't know exactly because I have worked a lot of it since I did my calculation. That's why I'm a little bit unsure. But I didn't do new calculations for today, so this is what it is. The rest of my whips I have worked on this year. They're coming in no particular order. They're just coming from the top of the pile. So this is Black Pearl by the Primitive Hare. Mermaid sitting on a swing. And I did 800 stitches on her this year. So far this year. I actually don't have a plan to work on her more this year, so that might be all I get done this year. And then we have Luna. It's from the Enchanted series by Body Thread. It's a kit. And this is where I'm at on her so far. So I finished the backstitching stars in metallic. I finished the trees up here. I finished the butterflies and I worked on her silhouette. I finished the wings. So working on the fairy herself. So far I have done 803 stitches and I'm going to work more on her because approximately around here is the halfway point. Yeah, you can see the arrows. The arrows isn't 100% correct because I just found a good place to start in the top corner. So yeah, it's not 100% centered, but it's fine. And the goal for Whip Go on this one is project half done, so the top part, getting that finished this year. But it is a pretty fast stitch when I just pull it out. It just have not been a lot of prompts for me to pull it out this year so far. So, but now I'm getting a little bit more caught up with my challenges because I have dropped a lot of challenges. So it's getting better. But more about that afterwards when I showed everything. Next up is the Possibilities by Hade, or also known as the Evolutions, and I only did 319 stitches, working down the row diagonally. This needs to be pulled out because I need 4,000 stitches on this one for a Whip Go. But it hasn't been spun on Whip Go, so there's still a good amount of time. And I'm focusing mostly on my epic Pokemon. That is also on the Whip Go board. But I'm focusing mostly on that one because I really need that to be finished this year. So if I don't get my rest of my Whipcord board done this year, that's fine. So that's why I'm focusing so much on Pokemon this month, is to try to get really ahead and get to a place where it will be like, okay, if I just dedicate 10-15 days to this, like really focusing on it for those amount of days, I can knock it out, because then I'm at a place I know that I can easily finish it. That will not happen this month, but I will also focusing on it most likely next month. Next up is the baby blanket, and yeah, you heard a sigh, not because I don't love it, but because it's so massive. So it's going to look almost like this. The reason I say almost is because it's cutting off some of the stars and stuff around here on the border. And this is a kit by Tobin Baby. Top half. So you can see the ribbons and stars are fully finished now. The top section of the moon's hat is finished. This bunny's face is almost finished. There's just some backstitching left to do. This section of the moon right here is finished, but the rest of the moon needs to be done. This bunny down here is done, and the carrot he's holding in his hand. The border on each side and top is fully done, and I just am missing the bottom part of the border. And this is the bottom section, which I haven't worked much on at all because I'm mostly focusing on this top part right now. So you can see I have started on the moon's, the brim of the hat and the bunny sitting on the moon. So that's where I'm trying to rotate between those two sections, what I'm working on. So one week when I'm doing the daily 30, I will just work in the moon's hat, and then the next one I will just work on the bunny. So yeah, that's where that's at, and I have done 4,885 stitches on that so far this year. And it's taking me at least twice as long getting those 4,885 stitches that I do on all my other projects. It's because it's pre-printed and it's so crampy in my hands, and thick, it's just slow to stitch on. But it's fine. It's going to be really nice when it's done. Then we have Pocahontas, SK Pocahontas by Hade. I did 4,001 stitches on her. She's on Whip Go and the goal is complete. If you remember, this is the one where Hade had to update their chart because there was a mistake in it. Sorry. And then they don't have a good system to let people know. So I didn't know, so I started stitching this one. And when I got to her hair, I noticed the mistake in the pattern I had. So I had to contact Hade, get a new pattern, and with the new pattern, they had updated a lot of the background and stuff. So I ended up having to frog over 1,000 stitches to get to around here, I think. I almost had to frog everything to then stitch the background down again because it wouldn't match up with what I had done. It would look weird. So I had to frog the background. At the time I didn't have her hair. I had to frog the background on both sides a lot to get to a point where it wouldn't be noticeable, that change. So, and then work down. So that's where she is. But she's all fixed. So, but most likely she won't be pulled out until next year. But that's fine because next year I will probably have forgotten all the frogging I had to do. So I'm not one of those persons, and I think you know it, because after I had to frog 1,000 stitches, I still stitched 3,000 more stitches on her, so. And then we have Fairy Tale Land 2 by Soda Stitch. I'm currently working the top section. So I started here, I've worked my way over, and are starting to work top down. And I'm doing back stitching as I go. Usually when I have finished the motif, I do the back stitching on the motif. So as you can see, like, all the stitching here in Rapunzel is finished, so now I have started to back stitch. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and I did 2,210 stitches so far this year on this one. It's not on my whip go board, which is kind of crazy that I have put so much time into this one when it's not on my whip go board. It's one of the few that I still pull out, because sometimes I'm just in the mood for a Soda Stitch pattern to stitch on. We're getting to the bottom, I promise you. And then we have Cinderella in Rags and Riches, which is inside a project bag, inside a Bitsy Bob, which I really shouldn't do, because I'm struggling with having enough project bags for my projects right now. So this is where I'm at so far. It's 2 patterns that are made so they can be on the same piece of fabric, and that's what I'm doing. And I just work more in the sky in the window, especially down this side. That's not called for. That's something I'm doing myself. I'm doing the sky 1/1. Also, I'm doing the skin 1/1. So yeah. Now almost this side is almost done. So then a little bit here is started. So then I just have this big sections to do, and it will be done. So, but I need to do the Kreinik and stuff first before I can fully start this part, because it's just easier, because there's still some beads I need to pay attention to, and then I don't want the Kreinik on top of that to pay attention to when I'm stitching the window, the sky outside, because as I said, it's not in the pattern, it's just I'm making the pattern up in my head as I go and stitching it, and it's that is good to not have anything to pay attention to. And on Cinderella and Rags and Riches, I have done 1,657 stitches so far. That's 3 days of work, and I have 2 more days I need to work on that before my whip goal is finished. Then we have Epic Storybook Princesses. It's the huge one from Class Factory and I'm doing it everyone on one big piece of fabric. So worked some rows down on this side this year, and worked my way over and worked down these rows this year. So that's where that's at. The whip goal for this one is completed. It was 5 days. So it's not a priority to be pulled out. And I did 3,650 stitches on that one. And last, we have Magical Night by Teresa Wensler. The whip go goal for this one was 5 days, and I have done 5 days on her. And this is where I got to. So I worked my way up her hand to the top of her head. And I'm doing the skin 1/1. That is not called for, but that's what I'm doing. And I think that's all the skin there is, like her face. Because it's winter themed, and in the winter you have a lot of clothing on, so you don't show a lot of skin. So yeah. Love how this is turning out. I really love working on Teresa Wensler. But doing challenges and stuff isn't the best one to pull this one out because it takes a lot of time to get those stitches in. And I have done a total of 1,162 stitches on this one. So, my plans, I have mostly spoken about them, what I'm going to do. What I have done is I have almost stopped doing most of the challenges in the challenge groups. So for Enchanted Stitching, I'm only doing the walk around the park challenges. Because then I can use whatever I want. I just need to have enough stitches to complete one section of the park. And in Magical School of Stitches, I am only doing the collaborative challenges, which is the same. I can stitch on whatever I want, and that don't even have a stitch count requirement. I can just put all my stitches in there. And of course, I'm doing the Headmistress Crazy Challenge, which is also just stitch on project, and every 1,000 stitches, approximately 1,000 stitches, you have to update it. And then the ones I actually am doing is the Daily 30 group, which is a closed group, so you can't join. That is the only one I'm actually doing where I'm doing the prompts. Both monthly, weekly, and scavenger hunt. Scavenger hunt is pretty easy because I have 3 projects that are dedicated. Those are the 3 projects I'm focusing on. As easy as that. I have reached the Supreme level. You have like different levels to reach. And when you finish the first level, you get to double dip your scavenger hunt pieces with the weekly and monthlies. So I very often try to put those 3 I have on the scavenger hunt to fit them into the different prompts, because then I'm double dipping, getting both of them done. Usually if none of those 3 fits the prompts, I go to my WhipGo board and see what I have on there, what I need to get done, and I see if anything I have on there can fit the prompts, because then I will do those prompts. If those prompts doesn't fit, then I will go to my new starts that aren't on the WhipGo board to see if any of those can get a little bit more love. Like especially like Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, that I need 1,000 stitches on to finish full coverage Fanatics prompt. I look at, okay, can I fit this into the prompt? And if none of those works, then I will go to my full whip pile and see if anything fits. And if nothing fits from there, I usually do a new start around the 29th, and I see if I have anything kitted up that can fit into that prompt. So that's how that works. So yeah. You haven't seen me in a while. There has been a lot of ups and downs. I think last you saw me, like where I had an update, I talked about the fact that I was starting some medications for my anxiety and depression. And I had some I started on that was really bad. I had a lot of side effects. So I started someone else, and it looked like these were going to work. But then I got this, it just took a little bit longer for the side effects to kick in. And it was even worse than the first side effects. And one of the big problems was when I then stopped doing the medicine, I still had those really bad side effects for almost a month before they disappeared. Most likely for the medication to fully go out of my system. So I'm not on any medication because basically the last one, it was the mildest of the medication I could get. It had just a tiny bit of effect. It didn't have a lot of effect. So my body just can't do those types of medications. So I need to just deal with it and hope things doesn't get too bad. But that made it so I had some really bad months together with that we were put in quarantine, and I had my husband and son around me all day, every day, draining me from the little energy I had left. Then they got back to work in kindergarten, and while all this was happening, I suddenly started getting a lot of dizziness in the day. I still have it, like I can almost do nothing and suddenly get super dizzy. The only thing is, like, I have learned to just deal with it now. Like, if I'm out walking about, like, I just stop, pull out my Pokemon Go and play some Pokemon Go just to get a stop, get a break, make the dizziness go away, and then I can continue on walking. So yeah, and then most likely all the stress that has been going on, something in my neck just tightened up, and I had some really bad neck issues at the end of May. The last 1.5 weeks of May, like I struggled stitching, I struggled sitting, I struggled just existing because my neck was so bad. I tried a lot of different things, like almost nothing worked. Luckily, I had made an appointment to have a private lesson in yoga for yoga center that has opened up here in my town that isn't too far away. So I went there, did some exercises, and my neck immediately started feeling better. Like, it wasn't fully there, but it was better. But the problem was, like, those private lessons are super expensive. Everything was still in lockdown when it comes to centers where you can train and stuff. So I ended up looking on Facebook, found a woman that do free online classes in Norway for yoga. She isn't exactly what I like. She's very much into the religious stuff when it comes to yoga, and that I don't like. But I just closed my ears for that part and did the exercise instead. And 3 or 4 workouts made my neck become good again. So I just need to keep up doing some yoga, I think, to keep my neck in place. So, and then I had an MR this week, so I'm getting the result next week to see if they find something in my brain that isn't what it's supposed to be, because I'm so much dizzy. And if it gets really bad, I get so dizzy, I either throw up or I black out. But like I have learned to see the signs and stop myself. And I know I have to stop. Like it's stop. Wait a few minutes, let your head get back to where it's supposed to be, and then you can keep moving on afterwards. And the good and bad thing is that while I was taking the MR, at the end of the MR scan, the whole thing started to like I got a warning, like now it will start to shake a little bit and there will be a massive sound. So be prepared for 1.5 minutes, just indoor. And while that was happening, especially the shaking going on, I got so dizzy, I got super nauseous, and it was horrible. Like I had to use like half an hour to just be able to go home afterwards because it was so bad. So hopefully, like it was a bad thing, but hopefully that makes it so if there is something to be found, they will find it, because I had a massive reaction. So yeah, that's my update. That's why I haven't been on. My dizziness is often triggered a lot if I start to get a little bit of headaches, which is usually triggered by too much noise. So that's why I haven't been filming Flosstube. I haven't actually watched that much Flosstube. I haven't been that much on Zoom in virtual stitchers, and I haven't filmed my Frosty Forest series because there is so much noise going on already in my house that when I sit down to stitch, I don't want any sound on. And the only thing I have started to do, picked back up again, is actually listening to an audiobook while I'm stitching, where I have my headset that blocks out all other sounds, so you just have that audiobook sound, and it's just, I can have it at a really low level so it's not too loud, especially since it blocks out all other sounds. So I don't, like if my husband and son is home and I need a break, I can take that on and it stops all the noise going on in my house, which is better than having all the other noise in the house. So it's not ideal. The ideal thing would be super silence, but I can't get that. And it doesn't help that our new neighbors are doing some renovations and stuff. They are building a porch on the backside of the house. So there's a lot of hammering, sewing, hacking of stone, digging. Like they're doing all the stuff, and it's a lot of noise. And they of course are doing it in the daytime because a lot of people are still working from home. So if they have a break from work, or most likely they don't have a lot going on and they can go away, they go out in the yard to work on the porch, making some noise. Yeah. So it is what it is. It's not going to get any better soon, because soon summer vacation will start and then it will get even more noisier. So I will just have to deal with it, trying to find mechanisms to cope, like audiobooks. And I'm just not pushing myself at all. And on top of that, either I didn't pay good enough attention, or there's something wrong in the app we are using for the kindergarten / daycare. So when I set up Leo's vacation, he was to have it from the middle of July, and instead it starts in the middle of June. So next week he is in daycare, but the week after he is home, and my husband is still at work. So that can be exciting. I'm going to have a little bit over a week together with him, home alone in the daytime. So yeah, let's just say the week that is coming, I'm not going to push anything. Like, it's going to be slow going. And most likely, my husband usually is really good when I have had some really tough weeks. He is usually especially good taking my son out. Like, his brother, my husband's brother, is really like known when it comes to go hiking on long trips. He has a really large dog that demands long trips, like up on the mountain and stuff like that. So when my husband is knows that I am having it really bad, he tries to take Leo out on a hike a lot, either to places he had been with his brother, or he asked his brother to join, which of course almost always join because he has a big dog that needs to go the trip. And he then also sometimes take his child with him. I became an aunt in 2019, the summer of 2019. So he's still a baby, but they have like a good carrying device for him. It's actually one they inherited from us that we had for Leo, which is like really secure and good, and it has all these diddle dally stuff, so you can have them in the carrying bag from their newborn without it being an issue, because it's made so the back and everything is perfect, like how it's supposed to do. And you just take out some things when they get older to make it be fit for them growing and stuff. So yeah, they have a good carrying device. So he often takes his dog and his child with him, together with my husband and son. And I think that's also a very positive thing, because I noticed that when Leo gets a lot of hiking outside up in the mountain, he's a lot happier for several days, and he's a much easier kid to deal with. Like, I don't have a difficult son. Poor boy. He has two parents that are educated teachers. Like, but of course, he's a child. He's his own person. There's stuff that he will be mad about and act out. And sometimes that is more often if he is having some bad days, and going on hiking trips up on the mountains makes him have more good days. So that's nice. So that's how things are going here. My plan is to get back to filming the Frosty Forest series, but I'm not going to put it out before I know I have at least 8 episodes ready, because that's almost 2 months, and that way I hopefully can keep being ahead so I don't fall behind. Because if I fall behind, it usually stops up completely, because there's so much work, filming, editing, just everything. So it's the summer, so I never know how much stitchy time I get. I don't know how much free time I get. But if I get some extra time where I don't have the need to be social, because if I have a need to be social, I go on virtual stitchers. And my head is functioning the way it should, then I will be filming, using every opportunity to film. That's like my goal in the summer, is to work on the 3 projects I have told you about and focusing on Frosty Forest. And when I have reduced the amount of challenges I'm doing, I reached the goal in the daily 30 group that I wanted to reach to get an item that I really wanted. I don't need to focus as hard on doing all the prompts and doubling it up and stuff like that. Like I can let it go a little bit. So it's not like I have to finish all the prompts. I just want to if I can. So the only thing I'm really going to focusing on is the monthly ones, to get those done, because then you usually get some special items, like virtual items, that is like, okay, you can use this to take away 100 stitches from the original prompt. So it helps you complete the prompts needed in the weeklies. So I like to get the monthlies done. So I think that's it. I think that's all. Most likely I could still be rambling on. I could show, like, yeah. But I will end this here. I don't think there will be much editing going on other than putting it all together, because I think we have surpassed like almost 2 hours now. So you get an original Rita Marie movie. Hopefully you either have had some good stitching and a good stitchy time to just sit down and stitch and watch everything in one go, or you watching it in several sittings. That's usually what I do with the larger floss tubes. So thank you all so much for watching, being here. Your support is amazing. I really love this community, and I'm so blessed to be here and have so many good friends. And I love being here on Flosstube. So with that, I am always going to try and come back. Even if I have to have some breaks here and there, because life isn't going the way I want it to. There's still a lot of quarantine. I have a lot of packages that there are issues with. So the giveaway will still be delayed. So because I don't want to do a giveaway and send something out and it doesn't get there when it's supposed to, or it gets there as like 2 months late. So we just have to wait it out. But there is coming a giveaway when just life and the world calms down a little bit. There's just too much going on right now. It's too much for me, and that is shown in my health and how much my body is struggling. So I'm just trying to take it slow. I'm not paying too much attention to the media and stuff, which some people think, oh, you're such a horrible person with white privileges. But yeah, I have white privileges and I'm using it because I'm sick. So, but it's awful what's going on. I just can't pay too much attention to it. It gets my mental health down, it gets my physical health down, and so that's why I'm trying not to talk too much about it on my channel, and I'm not going to talk about it in the future either. It's not that I don't care, it's that I don't have the health to do more about it. So right now it's enough for me to just keep living and keep hanging on. So that's what I'm doing. So thank you all so much for watching. And hopefully my plan now that you have seen everything is to get back to you once a week. So things doesn't pile up, get out of control, and me procrastinating again. So happy stitching, and I will see you later. Bye.